logo. Tony, don't start.
Alright, good day guys. Benjamin here again for the ladies. Anyways, on a more serious note, this video na video for triggers because like it don't be a concern for a long time now. People that want learn this advanced SQL because we get the test like next week. So this na the official video for the triggers. When a part one transaction
Put me
video
inside the
for
video.
JScripts. Come on inside. JScripts na in scrap machinery per use for for do this video. But anyways, now we'll get for now. So without wasting more time, I no go like waste more time on laying emphasis or definition. That in now work. When I go look for notes, I just dey like explain to me own way what they go explain. So first of all, wetin na a trigger? For actually understand the concept of triggers. So in my own definition, a trigger na an SQL statement or a type of stored procedure where they automatically execute a file anytime we will execute an SQL statement on a table, view, or database. So that na a brief definition of a trigger. But una no go able understand one thing because like the concept look new. So first of all, I would like for create a new database from the top. We dey start am from the top. So I create a new database. Let's say sample. Then inside this database, I create table name for am. Let's say TBL employee. Yep. Then let's create the field. Let's say emp ID int primary key. Then we'll put the identity on here. So for create this, we get two ways. We get the SQL commands, and then we get the GUI. But because of the majority and we don't use to for write codes, I would just use the SQL way. So we'll give the identity of 1 on 1. Then we'll get a not null value. Then we create emp name. Get a virtual data type of let's say 100. Get a not null. Then emp gender. Let's give them gender virtual. Get like 10. Then we'll get an emp salary. We are the salary bokuman elect. Get int data type, not null. Then lastly, okay, most stop there because this now just is sample. Most stop there. Then we'll create the other table. Let's say create table TBL audit. Then inside this audit table, we'll get audit ID int data type primary key. Again, an identity of 1 on 1. Bring back again not null. Then next we create the audit data varchar. Then this now will get a very long varchar because I will explain later why we get a very long varchar, because if we not get a long varchar, the value they truncate. But I will explain further. So we'll create the database now. Create the database sample. Database sample already exists. Okay, let's more use another name. Let's see
Just a sample data has been called
practice 1. So more execute that. Okay, we don't create the database successfully.
So you go minimize and
yeah, make this count down. Then we make sure say we dey inside with sample 1 practice 1 database.
Or you use the command you say use.
Yeah, or you use this command. But now we create the two tables. Create the one for the employee and the other one for the audit.
So we create two tables automatic or two together?
Or two together. Okay, so we don't get the two tables them. Now they can insert for the employee table. Okay, now before that, we don't create database, we don't create the table, we don't create the audit table, and not create relationship for them. But you go do them when you dey practice, you dey able to create relationship between the employee and the audit. But because of time and this now just a brief practice, we no go create relationships because na triggers, the concept of triggers now we understand, because all of this we don do am. Yeah, so this now just for kick start the brain so that we remember wetin we don do. But the main reason for this video na for explain wetin na triggers. So having created those two tables, we'll go to the concept of triggers. As I said earlier, trigger na an SQL command or a type of stored procedure wey dey automatically execute or fire anytime wey we make use of an SQL command, either on a table, on a view, or on a database. So now, make we take am in a real world scenario now. Let's say me and Jonah dey for work, we dey na the same company, we dey work for the same database administration. Then me dey work morning shift, then Jonah dey work night shift. So between me and Jonah, we wan maintain data integrity, we wan maintain accountability, so that anytime wey Jonah come in, he can see wetin me don do. So na one of the use dem of triggers. So what we done, we dey actually see wetin make we need triggers. So we dey start with the command for a trigger, so for know the full command of how we dey create triggers. So we always know anytime we wan create anything in SQL, we use the keyword create. Then we specify the type of element we wan use. We wan create a trigger. Then we give this trigger a name. It can be any name, but because of convention rule, I will use the standard way for create the trigger. I give the trigger a name tr_employee. Employee because now this employee table wan fire the trigger. Then we dey also do the insert type of trigger. So I be forget this at the beginning. We get three types of triggers. Yeah, we get the DML trigger, we get the DDL trigger, then we get the logon trigger. For now, based on wetin Mr. Conte teach we, na the DML trigger I teach we, data manipulation language trigger, wey involve the insert, update, and delete. So we dey do the DML trigger for insert, update, and delete. We dey start with the insert. Now, how this insert trigger dey work? This trigger dey fire anytime we insert a new record in any table wey we specify am for take place on. So for emphasis, we dey use the employee table for run this trigger on am, so that anytime wey a new employee, we create any new employee in this employee table, the trigger dey fire. Then we dey give am the rule wey for do anytime e fire. So we don give the trigger a name. Then next we for ask yourself, who side this trigger for take place? We say the wetin TBL employee. Na there we wan make the trigger fire. We don give am the action wey for perform, or the side we side for perform the action. Then we dey specify which kind action we wan make e perform. As I said, we get the DML trigger, we get the insert, update, and delete. So this particular trigger na for insert. So we don specify say na for insert, then we give am the as, begin, and end. So this begin and end just a type like braces wey you dey deal with loops. You dey start the loop, then you must break the loop at the end of the day. So na that this begin and end dey for. So middle of this begin and end, na there we can specify the action wey this trigger here for perform. So in this part of the video, we dey go back to programming. Year 1 VB. This part, all of us dey remember say Mr. Mana be the tell you about variables, how for declare and how for assign variable. So we dey make use of that same concept. We dey can't declare a variable for this particular trigger here. We dey use the keyword declare. They will give the variable in name. Let's say at emp id. Now this at emp id, not to think wey static for say for use am all the time. You dey able give am a variable name wey okay with you, wey you dey able use. E no mean say power papas use this at emp id.
You can use any name.
You can use any name. Then if you want back, you need use this at back, not too compulsory. You know, just for conventional rule, because na the conventional way for do am. And make a do am so. But e no mean say na something wey static or power papas you do am so. We dey able give any name we want. So we don't declare the variable, you give the variable a data type. We dey give an int data type. So according to programming, we don't declare a variable, you for assign a value to the variable. So now we can assign a value to the variable. So they use the keyword select, they will mention variable. Then inside this, which value we want give this variable? So here comes this another important concept. Yeah. So in SQL's management studio, anytime we create a table, we don't create employee table, we don't create audit table. SQL dey duplicate this then two table for we automatically inside the system. E dey duplicate dem in the table called inserted. Now this inserted table you no dey able see am because na thing wey the SQL itself dey fire for we, na a type of trigger wey dey fire for we in another table. So this TBL employee automatically while I run am, while I execute this TBL employee, e create for me a table called the inserted. So inside this table here, if I delete anything, e dey carry am go inside the table called deleted. Then if I update anything inside this table, e dey carry am go under the table called updated. So that's a fun fact. So now since this TBL employee here, we don get a duplicate of am, we now work directly with am because let's say, as I said, me and Jonah work with a big industry. Then we dey deal with billions or millions of data every day. We no wan manipulate with main table because anything can go wrong, and where something go wrong, we are both in deep shit. So since SQL don create a duplicate of this TBL employee for we
No
call
make
the
insert
inserted.
directly inside the
We
main
now
database.
we
But
now
then create a duplicate aside of am
aside
first.
of we now create am inside this. We no wan mess up this with TBL employee, so we dey use the duplicate of the TBL employee wey na the inserted. So if we don get a duplicate of this employee, all dem thing wey dey see here, this emp ID, emp name, emp gender, emp salary, e dey create am for we inside the inserted table. So now we can take the value of the emp ID wey dey inside the inserted table from inserted now. So wetin this line of code dey mean? Now this line of code mean say we don declare the variable, declare at emp ID, we don get a data type. Now we can assign a value to am. We want make this emp ID make e take in value from the emp ID wey dey under the inserted duplicate table of TBL employee. Na there we want make e take in value from. So we don done that part. That was the first part. We declare the variable, we assign data type to am, then we assign a value to am wey dey take in value from emp ID. So any value wey we pass under the emp ID, they automatically go under this this variable we don create. So we don create down there. Now we move to the action where this trigger have for perform. So anytime we fire this trigger, we want me insert into TBL the audit. We want me insert under the TBL on the audit under the audit data session. And they want me insert am. Then we get the value the way for insert under this audit table. Now we start the command way for give. Now since now a trigger for insert we dey create, we want anytime we insert a new record in this TBL employee, make this trigger here fire. When the trigger fire, wetin for do? Now that work we dey try for do. So this insert into now the work where the trigger for do, now we dey try for do so. So they tell the trigger say anytime we dey insert a new record in this TBL employee, we want me send this line of code we can do. So we want me send under the TBL audit in the TBL field. So now they tell am say an employee with ID equals to. Then now wetin this line of code mean? An employee with ID na a string. Now make we put am in quotation, single quotes. Then wetin make we left space between this equals to and this quotation? We want give space between writing, and now make we give this extra space here. So an employee with emp ID, they will call on this variable we don create because this variable now dey store the value, the emp ID wey this inserted table dey get. So they specify say, but fun fact, this emp ID wetin na im data type na an int data type. So for change this data type from an int to a string, there comes in typecasting. In programming, in Java to be specific, Mr. Man be always lay emphasis on typecasting, but of you go don't forget and stuff. But it be always lay emphasis on casting. Typecasting are the process of where they change a data type from so data type to another form of data type. So this emp ID, we want change that from int to string. So we use the keyword cast. The wetin we want cast.
So that means what you try for explain now. This emp ID it as integer, but for make install this one we say with employee with ID
one
as string.
Yeah,
so
one change them back
one
to
custom
to string. Fine.
Okay.
So they mention the emp ID
Underscore,
ID.
Okay.
Then wetin one cast as? One cast as either an end voucher or a voucher value, anyone way you want to choose because they all two na string there. So they choose an end voucher, we give them like let's say 10. Then we don't successfully cast this emp ID from integer to an int voucher. So that side we don't complete.
We don't put 10. What if the value we per input in pass that 10? You know,
It pass that 10. Now,
error,
an emp ID, you turn am upside down. Say the probability for make the emp ID pass 10 is slim for now.
Okay.
It's slim for now.
Okay.
But if you want make the size be more than that, you dey able to put am as well.
Okay.
But we know say this will emp ID will get identity.
Okay, identity.
So it increase by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you know they ever pass 10.
Okay.
Pass it be like them.
Pass it work with
boku data. Then for this class, we need reach even 1000 records themselves. Talk less of for reach a value really 10 digits. So this 10 even boku self, but we dey left and so. So now we don't say an employee with ID, then it will take the value where this they give. Then we'll continue back. We say was created. Mark out this down. Okay. Was created at. They will close this back. Created. Okay. Created at. Then now we can cast another value. Now we want get the exact date and time where this employee was inserted. So we use another typecasting. We use the keyword backcast. What we want cast? We want use the get date time function or method. They will cast that as an n voucher.
That the time where the person doing input?
Fine. The time where the person they insert the person inside the table.
Where then take in record.
Because we emphasize more now on this employee table where they are.
Yes.
So anytime where they insert a new record into this employee table, they take the exact date and time where they insert her. When are this get date and for that they get the date and the time. But conventionally get date na a date data type. So we know how use that date data type. We want convert it to a string. So now make we don't can cast it as an n voucher. So I think that's all. We get an employee with ID. You get the ID was created at. Yeah, but waiting make we give this space between this and this. We want maintain space between you writing and I make we give this space.
To person must say I.
Fine.
Then space. Love. Yeah.
Fine. So that this waiting this mean and at the space where they write I the space love the space you. So this space between this quotation and these words, 9 they give that with safety. So now I think we're done with this. So
the end.
Then we need to close this one more time. Okay. So don't close this. So this now trigger. I explained back before we execute this. First we use the keyword create. Waiting we want create a trigger. Waiting at this trigger in name tr employee insert because now for the inserted type of trigger. Inside this trigger have to take place on the employee table. Which kind of trigger we want to use? We want to use the for insert trigger. As then begin and end, then we'll give a statement now. First of all, we declare a variable called at emp id with a data type of int. We assign a value to where they take in value from emp id where this duplicate table a whole when are inserted. Then we'll give the action, the function, the action where this trigger have to perform. Now where this trigger don't fire, we want to insert something inside this TBL audit under the audit data. Wait till one way insert the values them when are this an employee with ID, then you get the ID was created at the exact date and time where the ID will self create. So now I'm gonna run this trigger, I'm gonna see back. So this trigger we don't successfully create the trigger. If you want to see the trigger now, we'll refresh this. We'll go on our databases. We'll count that we'll practice one data under the tables. So now if you check under DBO TBL employee, we check under triggers. We see say waiting, we don't create a trigger. We now waiting TR employee insert. So now since we don't create the trigger now, we can do an action where they make the trigger the fire. So they can insert a record into this TBL employee. So they can't do that they done here. So they say now insert into TBL employee. They will give them the values they wait for insert.
Declare the variables and for insert.
Now I want me insert for all. Okay, I know I insert for the emp ID since now identity. So the employee name, one enter for the employee gender, They want enter for the employee's salary. So now then three data I want enter for. Why we need enter for this emp ID? Because now identity they increase by itself. So we no need for put value for am. Automatically they update for itself. So we start with the waiting, the name now we insert for. So get and quote because now a voucher data type. So let's say, of course, I need forget myself Benjamin Franklin. I know sabi spell my name again. Franklin. Okay. Then the gender, of course, una all know say me na male now. Haba. Then the salary. The salary now na an int. Now an int data type. So we need put an inside quote, obviously. So let's say Benjamin, say they pay like then say 10,000.
They pay 20 million.
Okay, 20. You see, I want to demote myself, but my brother say I add on to 20, So I just add on the terminate this. So now they can insert a data into them. So now around it, you notice two things. One row affected, one row affected. Now this first row they affected, now the TBL employee. Now we don't insert this data for. The next row where they affect, now this audit data, because we create a trigger where they fire, immediately we'll insert data into the employee table. So now we can select the two tables, but most waiting they happen. So let's select all from TBL.
Let's say the audit data now like a monitoring.
Fine. Now we'll check the employee table first. When I see say we don't create a new record, Benjamin mail 2000. Now we'll select the other table, we'll see something.
Copy.
So we'll check the audit data now. The TBL audit. So now you see something here. You see say an employee with ID equals to 1 was created at June 3rd, 2025 at 12:52. So we check with time now, we get 12:53. So what you don't realize now, this audit data, you know say we not insert nothing for So now this particular statement here, now not execute under this side. The function where the trigger for perform, now not perform here so. So you realize say anytime we insert a new data into the employee table, anytime we insert data, it will automatically execute this other under the audit data. It executes and it. So let's say we create another employee. Let's say we create Jonah or JScript. And so for speller, IPT, okay. JScript, how much? Mark you 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a pass me.
So you realize okay, two rows affected, Yeah. So more highlight all to the table and more see waiting they happen now. May give you the two tables. So now you realize under the employee table, we don't create JScript, now email, they pay 10,000. Then also under the audit data back, we don't get another employee. This back don't execute this. So you realize an employee with ID 2. So you can't take this ID here. Now make we get on this. We create a variable where they store data from this inserted table. So in don't take was created at now make you see the space they will do now. The space where they between these two and this was now exists here. So this here, this space here. Then from the at to the June, now exists between here and here. So you for always make sure say you maintain the space then between you quotation marks then was created at, then you realize you get the exact date and time. So now in this get date day 4. So that's all about inserted type of trigger when at the DML trigger. So anytime we run a trigger, it get a work way to do. This particular trigger will create now for waiting insert. Anytime we insert table or a new record into the employee table, automatically they fire this statement under the audit table. So that's just a brief example under the insert trigger. So next we move to the delete trigger. I'll just highlight this comment insert for trigger. Then now we move to the reduce this space. Okay.
So not delete anything. You
I want to create more room for. Now they move under the deleted trigger. Now the deleted and inserted, they don't get much difference. The only thing, this they insert, that enough for deleted, right? So we free for copy all this we will do for the insert because of time.
So we're gonna make changes to them.
They will just can't change wetin for change.
No, that na FN you press. No,
Lenovo. Yeah, I know. Lenovo now. Who say dem control dey? Who
Who's
say control for dey? Na dey FN dey. Me now I don use to for me dey na the edge. So now we don copy and paste that we inserted. But we don already get a trigger wey name inserted wey dey house so. So now we need for change this name now from insert to delete or deleted, anyone wey you wan get now. Then we don change the name now. In back for execute on the employee table. But instead of for insert, now na for wetin? For delete. Then in back we dey maintain the same variable, but here now instead of the inserted table, it dey under the deleted table. The deleted table back
So
now.
Anybody delete any record.
Now under the deleted, yeah.
Make it tell you say na this record and delete.
Fine. In SQL, anytime we delete a statement, it dey go under the deleted table. It dey duplicate under the deleted table. So we want take this value from deleted table, then we dey maintain all there is. Then this created now, instead of created, it go be wetin? Deleted at. So I think everything here is good. We don't need to make any major changes there. Then we'll run this now. So we don't create am successfully. Now instead of more insert, because the first trigger now for waiting and for insert. Now we can't try for delete. Since Jonah na the second person insert, we can't delete now. So they say delete from TBL employee where the ID emp ID
emp underscore ID
emp ID equals to how much F2
number 2, yes.
So we execute this. So in back you don't see one row affected. The row affected the
audit
the TBL employee, it don't affect because we don't delete the record. Then the audit back don't file a statement. So if you can't select the all two now, under the TBL employee, we will not get Jonah again. We don't delete them. But under the audit, we don't add a new record. We say waiting. An employee with ID 2, that is Jonah, was deleted at the exact date and time we will delete Jonah. So the I say triggers is so sweet in a way that if you are two dey work na the same company on different shifts, anything I do morning 10 where Jonah come, he just dey go under the audit table for try for see wetin and waiting for do. So at the end of the week or at the end of the month, we dey get a report to boss man say, okay, now so we don't do per this database. So
this employee we don't sack out.
This we don't delete out. This we don't insert. We don't insert a new record. This we don't do so. So it dey for data integrity. It dey for accountability. Those are the roles wey triggers dey do. And triggers is very sweet. Wey dey run am so it dey give you. You enjoy bad. Wey run I give boku red. It hurts. Now I want give a few scenarios wey make we can get error them. So they create this trigger because boku people dey meet you so many errors. So I don't able gather like some errors the way they go through. The first error wey they go through under this audit table, they need to put the identity on. They need to put this on. When you not put this on, this ID no dey generate for himself.
So pass you input am.
Now if you not put this identity, then you dey put a not null. It means say you not for left the value empty. But in this trigger now the data no more dey insert for. So if you try for run this trigger, they run but anytime we insert a data into the employee, it dey tell you say you not put value, you not put any record for this ID.
Because doing where you can do insert values, you know, you mistake back again, you know, include back waiting input insert into the ID.
Into the ID.
Yes.
You know the insert. Now make we use this identity so that the ID now it will automatically generate them for we don't need for can insert again. But if you know how to use the identity, you want still insert a audit ID. In space of this audit ID, you can add now audit. You can add audit waiting.
Audit
ID, comma. Then here now values where you don't insert for the before you insert for the employee now you can get a value. Let's say employee ID, let's say 1, comma. Then you maintain it now. Now if you do this where you run and give you error because waiting you don't give the audit ID a value when I waiting 1.
Yes.
If that means that in this case you know how to use the identity. But for make things easy for your life, you just use the identity, man. No can stress yourself.
So Ctrl Z and the log.
So more just pull this. Not kill yourself, yeah.
Pull the audit ID there.
That's it. Okay. No pull this, yeah. So guys, that's for inserted. We know this inserted for trigger. We know we on the DML triggers. Then this for the deleted.
Then we go to the update.
So come to the last one. We know the update. We come to the last one. We know update. Updates now in a work like how deleted and inserted work. Now we can create a new trigger for update. So we use the keyword back create. What you want create? We want create a trigger. Sorry, trigger. It's a trigger name. Now we give tr employee underscore, let's say update. We say for carry on waiting
Employee
TBL employee
underscore employee table.
waiting which working they do for waiting update for updates as begin end. So now we can't give the work where this trigger for do. Now one may is it okay? Select all from inserted, then select all from deleted. So now what they simply try for do anytime we update a new employee, may we select all from inserted table and all from the deleted table. You know say this deleted table, this insert table first. Anytime we insert a new record into a table, in the automatically fire it dey duplicate am. This deleted table, anytime we delete any record dey, na the time in dey go. This deleted
So
table
the
no work.
update back for do the same thing.
Yeah,
for
the
the
update
inserted,
now.
then for the deleted.
The update now, anytime we update a new employee, it will show you the inserted and the deleted table. And we could say select all from this. So more run this now. So hold on this now. Now say one update an employee now. One update something from an employee. So say update update
Update the table.
okay, update TBL employee. They will say set. Let's say I want change my name. Set emp
Underscore name.
name equals to, let's say, just empty Benjamin without the Franklin now. Where the employee ID
This one
is equals to it in 1. So I want update my name from Benjamin Franklin to just Benjamin. So immediately we'll update this particular statement here the fire. We don't select this now the inserted table now. This now the deleted. Now you dey see two discrepancies now. Under the inserted, we dey see just Benjamin. Under the deleted, we dey see Benjamin Franklin. Why this dey happen?
So when they update, the one way it drop.
Yeah, fine. The deleted value in the can inside is deleted because it no longer exists there.
Yes.
Now this inserted now, they dey under the TBL employee, and this inserted now a duplicate of the TBL employee. So waiting the TBL employee get, now this inserted they get. So you see, this inserted now they get Benjamin, where I just don't update. But the deleted table they get the previous value, where be the under this, when are this, where be the under the employee
This trigger is fit for project
table. When I in this, when I say okay, I've done pull am. When I in a Benjamin Franklin. So and in I for the update trigger. Simple as eating right banana. You just need for sabi the syntax.
The syntax.
Then how it will work. That's very simple. Immediately able to do that for you. That's your personal job. Go watch this video, do the practical, watch other video then, find notes, read, and practice. That's the best advice I can give you. So computer science family, we love you. Benjamin, JScript, we love you. We'll continue making wonderful videos for you to help us all grow. We are in this together. Nobody left behind. We'll only go finally. We don't start this race, we'll be done. So take time, go through this video. Although it long now, because I don't know how many minutes for now. But more go through any questions, meet me in person and ask me. I always open up for answer you guys. So bye bye from Benjamin to
JScript.
JScript.